So you've all heard of the American dream. There is the traditional idea of it, the image it might conjure in your head. You've got a suburban neighborhood, a father that goes to work at his 9-to-5 job, a mother that stays home to take care of the kids and the housework, a dog, probably named something like Nala or Cooper. Sorry to anybody who has a dog with either of those names. Maybe even the iconic white picket fence. These stereotypes define the American dream through conventional success, material wealth, as well as an element of structure in terms of reaching the milestones of adulthood. By that I mean it's expected of pretty much everybody to move out and get a job right after graduating, get married, have kids, and buy a house, all before your 30s and all pretty much in that order. But if you were to ask an adolescent today what their ideal future is, not many are going to describe that life to you. And some might even scorn it as dull or fear the monotony of a traditional lifestyle. Generation Z tends to describe the American dream as having personal freedom and fulfillment, control over their own lives, and an engaging career. But in the current world, that seemingly straightforward goal may seem daunting to many teens. A few weeks ago, I got this amazing opportunity to go to New Mexico to interview for this foundation that gives American students scholarships to this network of international boarding schools in different countries around the world. It was an amazing experience, and I got to meet teens from all around America and all different walks of life. I realized that it was the perfect opportunity to gain some insight into what the teenage American dream really is. So I talked to them. I'm going to show you what just a few of them had to say when I asked them about their ideal future. Shadia from South Dakota said, "I want to be able to achieve things, but I don't want to be forced to work a 9-to-5 until retirement." An anonymous sophomore from California stated, "I want to go into a creative job. I don't want to get outsourced by robots." Andrew from New York said, "I want to go into environmental engineering because I'm afraid of climate change destroying my hometown." "I want to leave America and travel the world with my person and have 0 kids." Amara from Ohio. "I want to shape my own future. I don't want to adhere to any specific standard," said Sylvia from California. Since then, I've been asking my friends and classmates this same question: what's your ideal future? And the prevailing sentiment among them was that they valued having a stimulating, non-monotonous career, getting married and having their own person, but not necessarily having kids, and making a change in the world. I also picked up on an underlying anxiety about automation and climate change. My parents are a shining example of the contemporary American dream, a reputation that we as a country wear with pride, coming to America from a war-torn country in search of a better life. My father immigrated here from Iran after the extremist Islamic regime overthrew the Shah. He taught himself English, got a college education, and when he met my mom back in Iran, she brought her back with him, and she did the same for herself. Both of them worked hard to ensure a good life for their kids. Now they're homeowners, they have 2 daughters, and a golden retriever named Nala. But what about those second-generation immigrants, like my sister and I, following the rise of immigration to the US in the 70s? Our parents sacrificed so much to give us the happy, successful future associated with America. No threat of Saturday school or detention could motivate me to stay on track for success, like seeing the atrocities happening to women and girls in my home country and thinking, that could have been me. Even if a traditionally successful life didn't necessarily appeal to me, I'd still feel like I owed it to my parents to fulfill the dream they had when they left everything they'd ever known to find a better life for us. I'm sure many second-generation immigrants share this sentiment. It feels almost wasteful to abandon conventional success for a different path. This pressure aside, the current generation still tends to stray away from the life path of our predecessors. I mean, there isn't just one cookie-cutter life path to success, right? In the past, the transition from adolescence to adulthood was a clean-cut one. I mean, most people got married and started a family much earlier in life. Marriage is strongly linked to more financial and personal stability. It used to be the most reliable way of cutting the cord of dependence between young adults and their parents. In the 1960s, 72% of American adults were married. As of 2021, it was down to 52%. And nowadays, more education is needed to land a job that provides a living wage. Housing prices are skyrocketing. All of these factors are making it more and more unrealistic for a young adult to be able to survive on their own without a lot of support from their parents. These adult fledglings who are financially unprepared to leave the nest are referred to as the boomerang kids because they come right back. The COVID-19 lockdowns only worsened this phenomenon. At the height of the pandemic, 60% of Americans aged 18 to 25 lived with parents or grandparents. If you were to ask a teenager today, do you think that when you're 25 you want to be living with your parents? Most of them are going to say no. It's not that the younger generation isn't educated enough to hold their own. Generation Z is the least likely generation to drop out of high school, the most likely to go to college, and millennials are the most educated generation ever. Gone are the days of referring to 23-year-old losers living in their parents' basement because they're too lazy to get a job or go to college. Now it's the norm. You can do everything you were told to do, everything you're supposed to do, and still not achieve the future that you were promised. As a high school student, I see my peers around me working their hardest to get into a good college or university. As college admissions get more and more difficult and selective, I watch as all their stress is placed on high grades and test scores. But life doesn't stop once you graduate. Even the most well-educated adults can still be lacking in some of the basic life skills it takes to survive on their own. This leaves teens with pressure to succeed academically, but little reward for when they achieve that goal. They aren't prepared. So, how can we teach young Americans to be able to reach personal and financial independence, achieve their own version of the American dream? Parents of teens or boomerang kids, don't ignore the importance of life skills like cooking, cleaning, time management, financial literacy. While familial connections can be advantageous, learning the interpersonal skills needed for networking is also important. And in school, it's proven that early exposure, as early as elementary and middle school, to a variety of career options can help them find what's right for them in the future. And teens, don't be afraid to carve your own path. We're in a changing world after all. Don't get too attached to any one image of the future you may have, and hang on tight. Thank you.